So there's this false dichotomy online between people who are Star Wars fans and Star Trek fans. And I'll admit, between the two, I do have a preference. It's very much Star Trek. It's the one science fiction that I see as having hope, of having, like, an idea that, hey, we do reach the better future. However, I feel like Star Trek is, in part, somewhat ignorant in the method of how it explains that we got there. Because if you actually follow the lore of Star Trek, in the 2060s, humanity had just gotten over World War III. A scientist creates a faster than light travel warp engine and fires it up and flies through it to make some money. The idea of, hey, I invented this thing. And then it attracts the attention of a science mission of Vulcans, who then come down, make first official contact, and with it, they basically are a guiding hand for humanity to better humanity. And they're like, yeah, within 80 years, things were, the ills of humanity were wiped out. You kind of see the ends of that in the show Enterprise. But that's not how it would actually work. You don't just have a savior come in from outside of the situation and be a guiding hand. As Che Guevara said, revolution is not the apple that falls from the tree. You must force it down. And with that is where I think that the Star Wars messaging is a bit stronger. Because until recently, I didn't like Star Wars that much, but that's because I was examining it from just watching the films, and I realized that I just don't like the Jedi. That's the thing that really bothers me. And I'm not saying the Sith are good. I'm just saying I don't like the whole Jedi Force Sith aspect. Cut that out, and the Star Wars universe is very interesting. Especially if you're looking at the original trilogy and Andor. And also Rogue One to an extent. But, and I'm not the first one to say this, the Star Wars movies are very political. Like, George Lucas himself, designed the situation of the rebels versus the Empire as the Viet Cong, being the rebels, versus the United States as the Empire. Which is kind of sad how many people I know in real life who will dress up as 501st Stormtroop Legionnaires because they think the Empire was good because it brought order. They're literally making the argument that the Empire made the trains run on time. Which, fucking, people not understanding what the dangers of the Stormtroopers were, ignoring the fact that they were called Stormtroopers because, what were Stormtroopers? People missing the fucking point. But then on top of that, watching Andor and Rogue One, which I feel like it's important to watch both, because just because you're fighting for a future doesn't mean you should be fighting it because you'll see it. You want the positive future to exist in general. Hence why Rogue One is important. But Andor is important because you don't just start out a revolutionary, because the system as is will make you not want to be one. And it has to build up to the surface before you actually start fighting for what's right. A lot of times. Now, sometimes that fuse is a lot shorter than for others. But, Andor's fantastic series. And it all kind of boils down to one big point. You can't have your Star Trek future without your Star Wars. Because the Star Trek philosophy is kind of arguing that you can reach post-scarcity and a better future through reform only. That things will change and society will change for the better only through reform in the power that be's systems. And the thing is, that is not necessarily what it will take. It will require drastic action. And with that, you need a revolution. You need your revolutionary forces. And to live long and prosper, the force must be with you. I hate that I ended up mixing those two. And now my cat is licking herself behind my head, so it's really distracting. Educate, agitate, and organize. Solidarity, my friends.